Hi friends, this is Caitlin. Today I'm sharing this super fun new Stampin' Interactive die set from Hero Arts and Ralph Tyndall. So this is out today. I am putting this under my Halloween series because it's kind of like fortune telling, and I did end up adding some like fun spider web pattern paper to it, but this is a perfect stamp set for like year round like birthday themed and stuff like that cards. So this is one of the easiest interactive dies I've ever used. I will tell you that when I first got this in the mail, I immediately DM'd Ralph to be like, what am I supposed to do with this? Because if you can't see someone else do it, it's like it takes a second. But he kind of very generally explained and I got it right away. I just needed like that little guidance. But when I first saw this, I knew immediately that I wanted to make a clear acetate sheet and tint it with my alcohol inks that I pretty much never ever use, so that it would have the look of a true magic 8-ball. So technically this is called like interactive 8-ball, but we all know what it's supposed to be, right? And we have multiple at my house. My kids love them. And so they have, if you haven't seen one in person before, it's been a while, when you shake them, when you flip it over to get your answer, the liquid inside is this like deep bluey, purpley liquid. So I am going in with 3 alcohol inks and the blender solution. And like I said, I almost never use these inks. So it took a lot of fiddling, and there was even some more later that I just cut out to save you the stress of having to watch me stress for this. So these are the 3 I used: Amethyst, Indigo, and Turquoise, and just kind of played around back and forth with that. And this is what it looked like. So you'll see one side has the texture where the ink was, one side is completely flat. So that's the side we're going to put up when this is die cut later. And we're going to cut out the little piece with the tab and that kind of semicircle that's going to have the number 8 in it out of our white. You just need one of each for those. And then with the other ones, the whole 8-ball, the solid 8-ball, the number 8, and then that horseshoe shape, you're going to want to cut out of black or whatever color your cue ball is, I guess. And the horseshoe, we're going to cut like 5 or 6 times. There's not an exact amount to this, and I think honestly I could have done one less and it still would have slid around really smooth. But yeah, we'll get to that in a second. So I wanted to give some kind of shading to the actual like 8-ball part, that white circle part. So I'm going in with some very light, cool gray markers and just adding the shadow along the edge and kind of a little bit on the sides with a C1 and C0 marker. And then I'm going to start stacking all of the layers of that horseshoe that I cut. So I'm pretty sure from looking there, I cut 5. And I'm just going in with liquid glue and just layering them up. I think I started out with just 4 and then I added the 5th, but that's what I was saying before. I think 4 would have probably also been fine. Somewhere between 4 and 6, and you play with it from there. The other exciting thing I want to tell you is that there's an Instagram hop starting today, if you're watching the day that this goes live, with Hero Arts for a chance to win one of 2 $50 gift cards to Hero Arts. I'm going to leave a link to my hop post in the description and you can go check it out. I'm honored, honestly, to be part of the hop with them. Ralph and I have been chit-chatting on TikTok and Instagram for a while, and I was able to kind of get a sneak peek and test out the composition notebook stamps that came out from him and Hero Arts earlier this year. And yeah, I was so excited when he reached out about this. There's more nostalgia, I think, is the way they're kind of marketing these nostalgic stamps and dies. So there's like a Game Boy looking one that I already have plans for. I want to find somewhere in this house. I have my lime green Game Boy, and so I want to find it so that I can make sure it matches perfectly. So once I had all 5 layers of my little horseshoes all stacked up and attached to my circular base there, we are going to prep the acetate sheet to go inside. I did have to peel up my horseshoes. At first I placed them right up against the edge, and everything was just a little bit off with that circular tab piece. So I found it was easier to kind of hold that so that I knew it would cover that circle cutout. There wouldn't be a gap in between. And then kind of just holding that white piece in place, then I attached the horseshoes around it, and it was perfect. And you can use the tab to kind of decide where everything needs to go. So I should have stamped my sentiment on the white tab before I added my acetate, but because I didn't, I'm just using both layers to line everything up in my MISTI. So if you're like me and you get overzealous and you add your acetate first, you don't even have to do the acetate if you don't want to. You can just line it all up. You want to make sure that whichever way you're having your message revealed, whichever direction you want it to turn, that you have it pushed all the way to the revealed direction when you stamp your image, so that when it's turned all the way to the hidden side, you can't see it. And then I wanted the background around the little triangle answer to blend in kind of, right, with the blue and purple that I did my alcohol ink in. And then I rotated it and realized that I did not put enough marker down. So if you do this and you fill yours in with a color, make sure that you swivel it back and forth and that it covers everything you want it to cover. So yeah, you can see now what it looks like with no answer, and then when your answer magically appears. And I'm going to pop on that top little circular piece that's going to give that actual 8-ball effect. And then that tiny little half of an 8 is going to pop right on top of that. I love it. I think it's so cute. And I also saw in some of the preview pictures and stuff, people doing all kinds of stuff with these. Also, I'm so sorry about the fly that keeps buzzing in and around on my screen. We were having an issue. It's done now. It's cold enough. They're done. They're gone. So to have a fun kind of background for my card, I wanted some kind of texture and pattern. And I wasn't exactly sure what I was going to do. I kind of like the idea of a tabletop behind it. So I grabbed this really pretty dark gray wood grain from Honeybee Stamps. It's the Grain and Grunge. And I made sure that the arch sentiment that I wanted to use was going to fit. I trimmed this down to 4 by 5 1/4, but we're going to end up trimming it a little extra in a minute anyway, because you're going to see this card was a little bit of a journey. So keep in mind everything you're seeing, all of the edits you're seeing, and then add in the fact that there were multiple other alcohol ink adaptations along the way. So it's fine though. You just fiddle until you're happy, right? So I put my 8-ball, just kind of holding it in place in my MISTI so that I could get my sentiment and my little arrow that tells you what direction to turn your tab, or helps make sure that the recipient knows to turn that little tab. So I added my arrow underneath, my sentiment on top. I think I pressed down a little too hard there, and my sentiment didn't come out as crisp as I would have liked. I really like the kind of bold font that this stamp set has, but it's not, like I said, it's not as crisp as I was going for, but that's definitely a me problem, not a Hero Arts problem. So then I prepped the whole thing with anti-static powder. Then I inked it up with my embossing ink. I added Pink and Main Frosting embossing powder, which is my go-to white, and then melted that with my heat tool. Then I put this onto a white mat because I thought, oh, white answer, dark wood grain, white sentiment, let's just go white. And once I added the Magic 8 Ball on top of it with the blue, it was very jarring to me and just how I was looking at it to have that pop of blue in the middle and no blue anywhere else. Sorry, we'll come back to that in a second. To attach this to my card, I added glue to that horseshoe, and then again, just holding everything in place from behind, I put the little tab layer in and just placed everything down and then wiggled everything back in that little tab back and forth to make sure that it wasn't stuck or glued down. And it went fine. Super easy to put together, didn't have to fuss with it. But I did not like my white mat, as you can see, because I'm chopping it all off and then some. So I'm actually going to trim my card so that now it is 5 by 3 3/4. And we're going to double mat this panel, which might seem excessive, but here we are. This is like a whole group. I love the idea of this purple, blue, and like gold combination, but with the center placement, I just wasn't loving where everything was lining up. And then I saw this spiderweb pattern. This is a Whimsy stamp. It's like buka, like boca, but buka. I just love this paper so much. So I went over the edges of my Magic 8 Ball panel with black marker so that the white core of the paper wouldn't show. And I added that to the spider web layer, which I liked. It was very cute. But then I just couldn't leave well enough alone. And so I trimmed this down just a little bit. And we're going to then pop that onto a black mat. And then that will be our card front that we pop onto our A2 size card base. So my inner panel is 3 3/4 by 5. My spider web panel is 4 by 5 1/4. And then my black mat layer is a full A2 5.5 by 4 1/4. Sorry, guys. But once I was done, I loved it. And that's what really matters, right? So I shifted it around a little bit. And you can see how super fun and easy it is to use the interactive die to swivel it back and forth. Super easy to mail. I love this. Thank you to Ralph for reaching out to me. Please go check out the Instagram hop that's happening now if you're watching this now, or go check out Hero Arts and Ralph's accounts. I'll have them linked down as well below so that you can get even more inspiration and see the rest of this amazing release. And thank you so much for coming to hang out. Until next time, guys, happy crafting.